Hey guys, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net, and welcome to this new little series I'm putting together called At Top Velocity Pitching Tips. So basically, if you're on Twitter and you have a question that you'd like me to answer, go to Twitter and put at Top Velocity, which is my Twitter username, and then put hashtag pitching tips and ask your question or throw that in your question, and I'll do my best to answer it here. So as this keeps going, more questions I get, the more videos I'll put together. So let's get started. The first one I see on hashtag pitching tips at Top Velocity is how do you stop trying too hard and choking, from Oh My Garth. To me, that's a great question. It probably gets a lot into the mental game, obviously. But you got to understand too, this is a game of failure. So baseball is purely built around a lot of challenges, to the point where statistically, when we look at even the better athletes, they typically fail most of the time. So you just got to kind of accept it up front that you're in a game of failure. And I think not enough guys coming into the game understand that and make that acceptance, because that's really critical for you going forward, is for you really accepting that this is going to be a tough thing to succeed at. But those who really persevere in this game, and this game's really, like Yogi Berra said, half the game is 90% mental. It's a big mental game, because that guy who can basically survive the failure is typically the guy who's going to have a better perspective, always going forward and having success. And a lot of the guys that I've met in this game that were very successful, went off to professional major league levels. They were guys who were really, really good with adversity. I mean, to me, that was probably the number one thing that stood out. So if you can understand, if you're going to get to that kind of level, it just really has to come with your kind of acceptance of the challenge of baseball and the fact that it is a failing game. And just every time you go into something, if it is your training, if it is your reps in your training, typically, if it is your practice, your season, if you understand that, I'm going to fail. My goal is just to not fail or have the same thing happen over and over again. So if I keep failing at the same thing over and over again, then that's when I should probably get a little upset, because I'm not doing a good job of fixing that in my off-season training or in my practicing. But if I just go and accept and saying this is a game of failure, but I'm going to try not to fail at the same things over and over again. I want to make sure I'm improving. And if I go that way, I have a more level head. So I think your question is a typical question that we all have. It's like we get to these points where we get in these slumps, and just our perspective isn't right, and we struggle because we don't bring our best self to each play. So I think the best thing to do for you is just accept that this is a game of failure, and that it's always going to be a challenge, and you're just going to fight the fight, and always be the guy who's willing to get back up, dust himself off, and do it again, and you're going to learn better the next time. I think if that's your approach, then this question really won't be that much of a concern for you anymore. Hope that helps, man. All right, this one's from TJ. What is the best way to prevent early trunk rotation? I'd like to do a velocity quick tip, which I'm going to still keep doing for you guys on how to prevent early trunk rotation, but just something really quick would be understanding that the faster the lower half is, not the lift leg, really more the faster the hips are at front foot strike, typically you don't go into a lot of early trunk rotation. So you can remedy early trunk rotation by just working to be more explosive or quicker through the hips, or time the hip movements better at front foot strike. And then just making sure that the upper body knows that it's waiting for that hip rotation. It's waiting for the hips to push through, and hopefully they do fast enough. So that's the point, is even if the upper body's waiting, your arm cocking's late, but your hips never come, then you're always going to be an early trunk rotator. So really the biggest issue with early hip trunk rotation is you're just really poor at getting your hips through fast enough or at the right time, and that really is going to be the key. So I'll try in the next one of these velocity quick tips, I'll throw a little something out there on early trunk rotation. All right, we got Kevin Walsh. What does the proper leg lift look like, and should you angle leg lift to help your hips or start your hips coming forward? Yeah, with the leg lift, I like the leg lift to really be kind of more passive than active. Typically what I see, low velocity pitchers are too active with their lift legs. They're too aggressive, they're too much leading the movement, And it really, for a high velocity pitcher, it's the other way around. Their lift legs are more reactive. They're more, you know, they're more kind of just moving with the hips or the lower half. They're not really trying to control the movement. A lot of guys think they got to lift the leg up and do all these things with it, and that's what's going to make their delivery work, and it doesn't work that way. So the proper leg lift would just be coming into your lift, if it's a high lift or a low lift, whatever it is. Really, the hip leads more come through just you being in a good position on your back leg to then lead with your hips or push your hip out off that back leg. And then that should help actually your lift leg, or work with your lift leg to kind of close off, to keep your hips pushing out, or sometimes showing your back pocket, stuff like that. Be careful doing it with your lift leg. So, I mean, your question of saying, how do I get my hips to lead is important. Just know that it really doesn't happen as well with your lift leg, more through your back leg. Your back leg getting in position, getting torsion. A lot of stuff I talk about in our level 3 programs. But the proper thing would be to lift, get in a good load position on your back leg, push the hips out in the process of moving forward, and then the lift leg kind of react to that and pull away. That's what I like to see. I like to see the lift leg in a more reactive movement pattern than a more active movement pattern. So I hope that helps. The next one here, we got, let's see, actually one of the guys posted it, but didn't put the hashtag on it. That was Kid Sean. Why don't you send me back that one again? I can't pull it up on my phone right now. How do I get my son, this is from Keith Clemens, how do I get my son to stop collapsing his elbow to his side when he pitches? He's 11 years old, 5'2", 200 pounds. Collapsing his elbow to his side when he pitches. Yeah, I see that a lot. A lot of the guys at front foot strike, they want to cock way down here. They really do. And those guys, I actually pull their elbows up and pinch them and get them more at that 85-degree position. And I think those guys just need to know that they need to position their shoulders a little bit more abducted. So take his arm, pinch it behind his back, move it to that 85 range, and tell him to hold that position. So in all of our 3X target throws and even our med ball throws, it creates a really kind of easy drill, because you're already starting with your hands separated to kind of put it into that position. So that would be the best way to do it, would be get in one of those drills, put them at 85, tell them to pinch and load that scap, and hold that position. A lot of times I see that it's a leg strength issue. They just don't have enough leg strength, or not leg strength, sorry. It's a shoulder strength issue. Sometimes I feel like they don't have a lot of shoulder strength to hold that position well. So sometimes just as his shoulders get stronger, his traps get stronger, that becomes easier for him to do. So put him in that position and work on his upper body strength. That would be key. Okay, Andrew Slatterly. How to stop the front foot from pointing upwards and causing premature opening of the hips during the stride. Andrew, that's just still you not moving early enough. If you're moving early enough, coming out of your leg lift, if you're starting an early movement through the hips, not through the lift leg, okay, then you should keep your hips moving well up front and keep the momentum accelerating. I feel like guys who don't accelerate well, those guys are going to open early, and when those guys open, their leg will be up because they're just still not getting off the rubber. They're still not coming down the mound well enough. So work on just being a little bit earlier out of your leg lifts, leading with your hip, being a little bit better at accelerating your momentum down the mound. All right, I kind of had to refresh it here. All right, here we go. Getting close to the last one. It's Ryan Murphy. Said, any mechanical advice to leg lift versus slide step and initiating 3X? Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the leg lift. Be careful with the leg lift. I believe you should work out of a slide step until you can learn how to more effectively use the leg lift. And study high velocity pitchers and how they use their leg lifts. And understand too that just really be able to perceive the difference, or be able to see that the lift leg, is it actually just riding with the body, or is it actually trying to lead the body or guide the body? It's typically, like I said, you're going to find that at high velocity pitchers, the lift leg is just riding, reacting, moving with the body more passively, and not trying to be so dominant in the lower half, creating the movement. All right, so that'd be it, guys. That was a lot of great questions up front. I'd love to keep this going for you, so if you can, post up at Twitter or go to Twitter. Like I said, put at TopVelocity, that's my username call, and then put hashtag pitching tips, and then ask your question, and I'll get it to it in the next video series.